American hockey fans, are you ready to brave the wild with me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan? Brave the Wild is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today as the Minnesota Wild continue their win streak, undefeated once again, 3-0 this past week, and the Wild continue to rock and roll with a 4-game win streak. And, of course, Brave the Wild is also available on the Hockey Podcast Network, THPN. Thank you, Kyle and Dylan, for having me on board, coming in out of the Vancouver, British Columbia area. Of course, again, a wonderful start for John Hynes, a perfect start. Is it a sugar high? Is it something real? Well, I mean, there's been some tweaks, some changes to the way things are constructed. So, I mean, they're changes that probably should have been made, and maybe old Dino wasn't going to be willing to do so. So, what the heck? If it's working, it's working, and it's a good thing. The team probably needed a change, probably needed a new voice. Not saying Dean was a bad coach at all. He's probably going to end up coaching the Ottawa Senators or the Columbus Blue Jackets before the end of the season, and he'll probably be successful there. Will he win a playoff series? Well, we'll find out. Yeah, we'll see. John Hynes actually has won a playoff series in the AHL. Neither, of course, has won a playoff series in the National Hockey League. We talked about that. Was that 2 episodes ago? Or no, last episode. That was just last week. So my apologies. Again, going to try to keep the shows more topical than just game reviewy. Of course, we'll get into the games, but game reviewy is not always probably the best way to go. And we'll talk about kind of the reasons why maybe the team has been better. Things that may have been talked about, but also, again, I mean, I want to address them on this show as well. May or may not have been talked about on other shows, but and kind of like link it to the games and such. But the fourth line's larger role has definitely been a huge change and a cause of the improvement at the end of the day. So it's, yeah, I mean, that definitely means something as we jump into the games. The schedule, of course, Minnesota defeated. I have to drop back to November. I apologize. Nashville 6-1, insanely impressive again. And then the Minnesota Wild had a comfortable win over Chicago and a pretty dazzling victory over a Calgary team that was playing pretty well. Honestly, the biggest surprise was Nashville had been on fire, and the Wild just rolled in there and it was like pretty much early and often the Wild pretty much kicked their butts. And John Hynes, of course, the former coach of the Nashville Predators, as recent as last season. That's pretty cool. But a 6-1 win, 6-1. All right. So that was a super fun performance overall. Philip Gustafson, yep, absolutely, solid. And he's definitely been better, but the play in front of him has been better as well. And we've seen multiple times where the goalie gets pulled because the Wild are playing so well. The Wild are scoring so easily and such. Kirill Kaprizov with a goal and an assist. Connor Dewar was the story of the night, of course, with the hat trick. Obviously, absolutely cool. Career first for him. He was able to bring the 3 pucks home and all that good stuff. So a hat trick for Connor Dewar. And again, further signs of the fourth line. It's like early, but at the same time, you're seeing the fourth line like Connor Dewar, 14-12. Sorry, I'm like blanking. But, yeah, Connor Dewar like 14-12. Brandon Duhaime, Ryan Hartman, who has actually moved up to the fourth line, but not in this game in particular. But, yeah, Freddie Gaudreau, 13-49. Vinny Lettieri, 10-14. So guys obviously getting minutes. Pat Maroon's been up to the third line. So, and there's been some shuffles here and there. Duhaime has actually been mostly the fourth line. That's the other guy. So actually, yep. And it's changed a little bit. And of course, the return of Ryan Hartman changes it at the end of the day because, well, he was suspended for a couple games because of that stupid trip. That was not the nicest thing I've ever seen done in the history of the world, but a hat trick for Connor Dewar nonetheless. The fourth line surging. It's obviously awesome. The lines we're looking at now, yeah, Freddie Gaudreau's not fourth line. He's third line. He's the center of the third line with Foligno and Maroon, who've been playing pretty well. I mean, they're I wouldn't call them the best line the Wild have by any means. Second line, obviously, Marcus Johansson finally came back to life a little bit. Boldy and Kaprizov have definitely come back to life. We've had Rossi centering the top line, and he's going to probably be there for the foreseeable future. Marco Rossi, Matt Zuccarello, and Kirill Kaprizov, of course. And then you have Drew Eriksson, Matt Boldy, Marcus Johansson. It's obviously 2 really nice lines. Johansson had been invisible, but finally showing some signs of life. As Freddie Gaudreau also showing some signs of life, finally scoring. And a lot of people are like, yeah, it's about bleeping time. But it's like, okay, he finally scoring. Goudreau had an assist in the game. Frederick Goudreau had an assist in the game. Yes, we're happy about that. Kirill Kaprizov goal and assist. I already talked about that. But the story of the night was Connor Deware's awesome and stellar performance. Everybody obviously very thrilled for him, and just great news. Obviously, great news. Jake Middleton also was able to add a goal, and Spurgeon, Alex Goligoski of all people, and Zach Bogosian, guys that don't get points a whole lot, were able to collect a couple. Goligoski's second assist, and Zach Bogosian's first point as a Minnesota Wild player, coming in out of Messina, New York, at age 33, wearing Matt Dumba's number. Former Wild player Matt Dumba. Anyway, we may or may not look into those guys in the future here, but obviously a very solid week for Matt Boldy. Marco Rossi continuing it. Joel Eriksson still one of those consistent guys. Zuccarello had a huge game up and coming. Not this one in particular. This one was the Connor Deware's night, and what a great night it truly was. And really making that fourth line extremely proud in a lot of ways. And yep, the fourth line being utilized more often rather than just a couple minutes and just barely 10 minutes, 8 minutes, this and that. It's hard to really be productive when you're not even out there at all. So that had been an issue with the fourth line for the most part during the Dean Evison era, especially in the later stages of it, so on and so forth. But pretty much generally was this the case. Wild had a bunch of days off, or at least a few. Chicago Blackhawks 4-1 comfortable win. No Vikings game, so you got to sit and enjoy the Minnesota Wild about the time you'd be enjoying a Minnesota Viking game. Rossi with a couple of goals in the game. Faber with a couple of assists, assisting on both of Rossi's goals. I mean, that was obviously felt like $1 million. Marc-Andre Fleury going against his former team for a couple minutes. That's who the Wild traded. That's how the Wild acquired Marc-Andre Fleury from the Chicago Blackhawks. So of course that was the conversation there. Blackhawks with injuries all over the place, and then all kinds of ties to this and ties to that. Tyler Johnson ties to Minnesota. Nick Foligno ties to Marcus Foligno, the older brother, of course. Once upon a time, the more established guy. Ryan Donato, former Wild, so on and so forth. So on and so forth. Vlasic, the former Sharks, I used to call him the pickle man. He's like, usually a second or third pairing kind of guy. Jared Tenorti ties to Mark Tenorti. So I've been kind of all over the place here. Vinny Lettieri, Zach Bogosian scratched in this one. Goligoski and John Merrill. Goligoski and John Merrill. And the Wild only give up one goal. All right, that's good. Thanks to Spurgeon, thanks to Brodin, Faber, Spurgeon, and Middleton. But no, those guys were fine too. I'm not trying to give them a hard time. Goligoski was actually a +1, and not one single defenseman was a minus. So, in fact, nobody on the Wild was a minus. There were a few evens and such. Connor Dewar, not quite the stellar night, but at least he was good in the face-off circle. He was mediocre, but everybody was there. Was mediocre there. The only guy with a winning record was Zuccarello. Interesting. Okay, and Goudreau. Okay, but yeah, just one more win than loss. But Marco Rossi now up to 8 goals on the season. That's just, you feel so good. You feel so happy. 8 goals, 7 assists, now 15 total points for Marco Rossi in 23 games. He's at least becoming the Marco Rossi that we saw in Iowa, the same production level, we'll say, but obviously a better player, because to be able to do that in the NHL, you have to be doing more. You have to be better. You have to be quicker. You have to be stronger. You have to be quicker release and better in traffic and all of that. So because there's so much traffic. There's traffic in every hockey game, but that one, it's like the real, but in the NHL, it's the real deal. Dakota Mermis, I've lost track how many times he's been up and down, up and down, up and down. Looks like he's back active with the Wild again. I don't know who's active and who isn't anymore. I'm confused. We'll talk about Damon Hunt. He's been having some pretty he's definitely been picking up offensively in Iowa, and that's an encouraging sign for a team that's mostly led by the veteran players who are more career minor leaguers rather than the prospects. So that's unfortunate, the prospects. But a comfortable win over the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, we've seen very solid play from two guys that had been MIA, Kaprizov and Boldy. They're no longer missing in action. So obviously that's a wonderful thing. Boldy would have Boldy's been having multiple points. He's been having big moments. He's now at 13 points, 5 goals, 8 assists. And remember, he scored his second goal of the season against the St. Louis Blues. Let's not forget that. And it was kind of a breakaway type of situation as well. So now he's at 5. Matt Boldy's definitely been surging under John Hynes. Kaprizov, you're not really seeing the, the guy that looks like maybe like he's still injured type of thing. He's been racking up assists more than goals. Like 8 goals he's been scoring has been Kaprizov, but 15 assists though. Obviously getting the assists like crazy. Zuccarello, tons of assists at 21 now, and on pace for about 90 points on the season, where Kaprizov is right at a point a game now, where he'd been struggling before. Obviously ongoing conversations where Dean Evison talked to starting off with Michael Russo. My apologies that I didn't really get into it on the last episode. And just kind of very briefly, obviously it was interesting, like we got to hear both coaches describe exactly how the moment was. So I got a kind of a, it's interesting, like both coaches in the past when it came to Boudreau is what I'm trying to say, where basically Boudreau walked into Guerin's office. Guerin closed the door behind him, and he's like, so something's up, like, here we go. And then basically Guerin said, I'm looking to make a change. And Boudreau said, are you firing me? And Guerin said, yes, basically. And then Boudreau said, are you bleeping kidding me? It was kind of funny. And then they just kind of stormed out, basically. And then, whereas in a definite contrast with Dean Evison's situation, where Dean knew something was up, he was either getting fired or he was going to be told that you need to, get rid of, like, say, a Bob Woods or some other guys. Like Woods was pretty much toast. You could pretty much see that coming a mile away. An assistant coach or 2 or 3 or all of them, who knows? Darby Hendrickson has been around since the second coach in Wild history. That was Todd Richards. That's pretty amazing. Yep, he came with two former Gophers were coaching the Minnesota Wild back in 2009 after Jacques Lemaire. So pretty crazy. But with the Dean Evison situation, Bill Guerin called him to the office, and then Dean Evison, of course, called his wife and said, well, I'm either getting fired or he's going to tell me I need to let go of some of an assistant coach or 2 or something. And ultimately, it was what it was. Basically, they sat down. Bill Guerin started kind of like, he just kind of had a sad look on his face, really like he was going to cry, kind of. And Dean Evison said, are you firing me, bud? And it's just kind of like he always says bud, like he's done on a call with Paul Allen. He'd go on the Paul Allen show once a week, and he'd be like, all right, thanks, bud, kind of like that. So just kind of a nice guy, obviously, in Dean Evison's case. Super competitive, super aggressive, super intense, and not a shy person at all, as we found out. But that's what happened. They embraced, they kind of cried a bit, and it's sad. It just kind of is what it is. At the end of the day, Dean Evison said he understands the decision. He disagrees with it, but he understands, it is what it is. That's kind of the nature of the business. And, I'm a bleeping good coach. I'm going to resurface, and I'm definitely not done. And he wasn't shy to go out in public either. So interesting, to say the least. It was a very enjoyable article. And then, of course, he also went on with Jim Rich, Fox 9. And I think he also went, a conversation with the Star Tribune beat writer as well. And, of course, she is the well-known Sarah McClellan. Of course, you always hear her in the post-games and the, whatever press conference it is. We fired Dean Evison, we're hiring John Hynes, this and that. Who's the goalie tonight? Gus, who's, that type of thing. Yeah, so Sarah McClellan, who I should talk about more often on this show, and I apologize. Yep, I mean, I guess I'm tied to the Athletic more, I suppose. With Joe Smith and Michael Russo. So, but yeah, Sarah McClellan, of course, also obviously deserves credit, and the Pioneer Press to beat writers as well. So, I mean, it's in St. Paul for Pete's sake. So, all right. So, yeah, I got into the Dean Evison conversation there. So it's just interesting, the difference in contrast. Basically, Boudreau was like, "Are you effing kidding me?" And he said the word. Are you? Yeah, he said, "Are you?" Basically, this is what happened. So it's like, Bill Guerin, I'm looking to make a change. Are you firing me? Yes.
Are you fucking kidding me?
So yes, James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, did a nice impression of what Boudreau may have said that day. So so you get the point now. We'll move on. And then, of course, are you firing me, bud? It's just, can you imagine the difference? Are you firing me, bud? Yeah, it's sad, obviously, but Dean Emerson, a proud guy, and he's going to continue. Yeah, he'll be fine. Is he going to win a playoff series? Yeah, I know. It's an ongoing thing. I'm sorry, it is. But let's get back to where we need to be. Boldy did get his third goal of the season at the time versus the Chicago Blackhawks. So Boldy obviously has been on a goal streak, a point streak, and all that good stuff. Zuccarello, 2 assists, 3 total points versus the Blackhawks. Marco Rossi with a couple of goals, like I said. So obviously that, it feels like $1 million. Eriksson Ek's been a little on the quiet side, but I'm not going to trash Julie Eriksson Ek. I'm sorry, that ain't happening. So we're going to keep going from here onto the Calgary game, which made me feel pretty dang good. That was exciting, obviously. 5-2 win in Calgary. The first regulation win in Calgary since 2016. So that's a long time ago. That is going way back in the day. So very, very cool, very impressive. Obviously, it's you got the the rodeo and all that going on. And we got to see Blasty on the uniforms. Those are pretty good. I mean, I'll be honest. Those reverse retro style are pretty nice. I mean, those Blasties. Yep. I didn't like the original form of the Blasty uniforms, but these are pretty good. Obviously, nothing tops the Minnesota Wild North Stars or, say, the Carolina Hurricanes Hartford Whalers jerseys. But, they're way up there. Obviously, the retro Calgary, or the ones that Calgary wears all the time now again, don't change them. I have that much love for the classic Calgary. So there's just certain hockey jerseys that I think are so good and they should never be touched. So at the end of the day, sorry that I'm babbling on and on here. Kaprizov, another multi-point game. 1 goal, 1 assist. Boldy this is where his 2-goal game was. So Boldy goes literally from 1 to 5 goals in just a few games with John Hynes as head coach. So freaking awesome, to say the least. Rossi getting another point, obviously, along the way. And, it just feels great. Feels great to see things happening. Feels great. Gustafsson solid in net, and the Wild pretty much peppering Vladar very early. A very weird goal in Foligno's case. It was like, it looked like it bounced out, but no, it was like completely in. It just was moving so quickly, and such a quick bounce, as they might say in Canada. And it was a very quick bounce, and it was clearly a goal. You just kind of had to slow the camera down a tiny bit, and it's like, oh, okay. It came through like a freaking meteor, but it was a goal, and it just bounced really hard and really fast to make it appear like the puck was out, so that it never actually went in. So obviously, great time. It was kind of weird because everybody's kind of skating down the ice, still playing, and all of a sudden, oh, it's a goal. Anyway, sorry about that, and they all started celebrating. So them being the Wild, of course. Ryan Hartman, like we're saying, when Ryan Hartman re-entered the lineup, he's been on the 4th line. And I'm not crying at all. I don't think anybody is. I'm only crying about the cap hit. So that's one thing I'm crying about, as we'll very quickly move to cap friendly just for a minute here, because I like to do this pretty much every episode. It's kind of a thing, guys and gals and guys. Yep, 4 million after this year, 3 years of 4 million. I mean, it is what it is. Just because he's making $4 million a year doesn't mean he has to be in the top 6. In fact, I don't know. It doesn't mean anything at all. It just sucks that it's $4 million. That's all. That's all. It couldn't be 3. It couldn't be 3.5. It couldn't be 2.7. Really, 2.9, 3.1. Did it have to be $4 million? Because he's so good, right? Well, he had a 5-point game. Come on. Other than that, he had a 5-point game. Come on, man. Stop it. Stop whining, right? Foligno. Just tack on another year with the $4 million with that one. I'm not saying they suck, but I'm also, I know, it's going to drive me crazy. It is, especially a team that you talk about being cap-strapped and all that. I don't know. I know you want to keep your veterans, some of them, but you want to keep all of them. I know. It's an ongoing thing. Yes, I'm bitching about the same tiring conversation, but, sorry. I just, it is what it is. It's not the best thing, in my opinion. But if he's on the bottom 6, I feel better that Ryan Hartman's on the bottom 6. Because you know what that also means? It doesn't mean that Ryan Hartman sucks. It also means that somebody else is playing well. That's the good thing. Somebody important, like a Margot Rossi, like a Joel Eriksson Ek is playing well. Joel Eriksson Ek should never come off of the top 6 anymore, unless we get, unless the Wild get like somebody who's like a hardcore, legitimate, top center one way or another, like an elite player, like a prospect becomes a star, that type of thing. Which I suppose anything could happen. I'm not counting on it at the moment, but I suppose anything could happen. So, and it is also interesting how people were talking about how, when Merit Kuznetsov, who I do believe is a legitimate prospect. Yes, I was mostly asking the question when I put that together for Crease Assist, just in case you're a listener of both of the shows. And this is people on the show, and yeah, obviously this and that, and people that do listen to both shows. And thank you for listening to both shows, by the way. Highly encourage that. When I asked is Kuznetsov a legitimate prospect in the NHL, I was making conversation. Yet at the same time, it's like, I was noting the slow start. And yes, I understand that, what they're doing over there in Russia is kind of playing a game, because he's on the final year of his deal. And it's like, oh, well, we don't have to play you. And it was funny how, look at me jumping into segment 2 here. But it's like, I'll do it now, because what if the thought, leaves me? I love the way Derek said, no, we don't have to, or whatever, like, bleep you, screw you, we don't have to, we don't have to play you. It was funny how he did the Russian accent with it, so just a thumbs up to you, Derek, for that one. That was hilarious. I just did my little chuckle when I heard that one. So, again, though, like the bottom line, still getting significant minutes, 12, 11, 10 minutes minimum for Patrick Maroon. Obviously, he's a third-line player, but less minutes, probably less times at special teams and all that. But guys like DeHame, almost 13 minutes. Hartman, about 13-ish. Goudreau, 12. Not that I'm excited about Goudreau getting 12 minutes or anything. But guys like Dewar, almost 14. What do you think of that? So, playing in more and more situations, which is freaking cool. Obviously Rossi's number 3 on the team in minutes for forwards, not for, defensemen usually are on the ice more. Faber was on the ice more than anybody else, 25-42. Not quite Suter-like, where you're so gassed out there, you're gassed. And then you end up losing the game because the guy's gassed. He has no business being gassed. That's bullcrap, because he's selfish. That was my yo, of course. Suter was gassed out there. I used to get so pissed because they said that it's what you heard it all the time. Frickin' son of a gun. Yeah, but a 5-2 win versus the Calgary Flames. Things, again, the bottom 6 is playing more like middle 6, that type of thing. They're getting almost middle 6 like minutes and getting opportunities to be a factor on the power play and the penalty kill at times. But also just in general, getting opportunities to be on the ice. And the more you're on the ice, the more opportunities you're going to get just because. Bounce of the puck, this and that. So it's a wonderful thing to see players getting opportunities and capitalizing on those opportunities. So what's funny, what kind of made me, I don't know how I heard something like the Wild were already like in a wild card position, and it's like, I don't know if I was hearing things or I'm nuts or somebody was like way off. I don't know what the heck, but when you look at the standings, yes, the Wild have games in hand against certain teams and such. In fact, we only have 23 games played. We're second lowest, pretty much, tied with Edmonton. We're actually tied with Edmonton for the lowest, is what a better way to put it. On only 23 games, but St. Louis has 27 games, or 27 points. Arizona is in the postseason at the moment with the top wild card at 28 points. For division lead, the Wild would have to get to Winnipeg at 30, so that's a 8-point deficit to get into the division lead. To get to the wild card, the Wild need wild, yeah, I know, 5 points. Need to catch up 5 points to get to St. Louis. I think the Wild can do it, but I know there's a frustration, this and that. You want the draft pick. I do too, but I guess that's just the way the organization is. As long as we're not stuck in the middle, and things can overcome. But with the cap situation continuing into next year, I don't know what to say. And as you look over the standings and such, Vancouver is definitely something else. They have the best goal differential. Actually, LA has an even better one because they've only given up 53 goals on the season. They have a 32 plus in the goal differential. Vancouver 31 plus. But 101 goals for Vancouver. That's impressive. So if the Wild are able to beat Vancouver whenever we do play them coming up very soon, because we're going to be hanging around in Alberta for a bit, it's going to be interesting. Edmonton's obviously playing a hell of a lot better as well. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how things turn out. Las Vegas, despite a bit of a drop for a minute there, still number one in the Western Conference by a pretty good margin. 5 points ahead of Colorado for that spot. So home ice advantage throughout the playoffs there, LA Kings have only lost 4 games. Wow. The LA Kings have only lost 4 games. They're 10-0 on the road. Mediocre at home, 5-4-3, but 10-0 on the road. Interesting. Like some of this, it's like, because sometimes I don't sit and stare at the standings all day like some people do. Some people do. I don't, because it's like, just keep winning games. And I like to look at it, and it's important, obviously, but I don't know. I think you figure we're far enough out that we just need to keep winning at the moment. But then it's like you start paying attention to some of the other teams, and you're like, holy Toledo, man, what's going on? It's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, Carolina and Seattle. That Stanley Cup prediction looks pretty silly. Seattle is below the Wild, or tied with us, and we have 3 games in hand over them. What the heck happened to them? They were pretty close to the West Final last year. Carolina's still good, but they got their butts handed to them yesterday by the Edmonton Oilers. They got slicked, or whatever you might say. Sorry, I can't help myself. The Wild's goal differential -7, a hell of a lot better than where it was. Hell of a lot better, -7. Edmonton's even because they've been scoring like crazy. So on and so forth. Anyhow, let's pass out the awards for this episode. I don't even know where to go, honestly. Let's just say there's not going to be any James Tepper popcorn maker on this episode. I don't really have anybody to bitch about on this episode, even if like a gentle one. Other than, I don't know if guys get hurt, this and that, but even that's not been happening. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really complaining about anybody at the moment. So, and it's tough. I have to go with a guy that had a hat trick and who's been playing super well, especially. And a guy that, this was the whole point about who's Nadinov earlier, and I lost my whole train of thought because my mind's going 1,000 miles an hour, is that the talk was that who's Nadinov would ultimately replace Connor Dewar, possibly. Like, that might be what's going to happen. I wish it was Ryan Hartman instead. I think that'd be better. I wish it was Ryan Hartman. Like, long-term, who would you rather have? That might be a great poll. Hopefully I can remember. I got to make a mental note. I might even, I don't know, write it somewhere. Yeah. Who would you rather keep long-term, say when Who's Nadinov gets here, between Connor Dewar and Ryan Hartman? Obviously you're going to be like, oh, he can't be traded. Maybe he can, but let's just say in a perfect world where you could just pick either one and move on from the other. Connor Dewar and Ryan Hartman. Connor Dewar and Ryan Hartman. Yeah, I'm on the Connor Dewar train there. I'm on the Dewar train. So, generally speaking. With that said, so Connor Dewar will get his second, unless he had 2 last year. I think he had at least one. He had one for sure. But at least his second Mike Modano award will be this week. He had a hat trick, and he's been playing so well, generally speaking, the past several games. Just really appreciate what he's brought. Obviously, guys like Boldy, Rossi, deserve credit. Huge credit. Kaprizov obviously deserves credit. Zuccarello deserves credit, generally speaking. And I can't really bitch about, the bottom pair defensemen. But they're not good, but I don't know. It's not like they were awful. It's not like they were awful. Everybody's playing a little bit better. They're at least not, killing us, that type of thing. So I'm not really going to bitch about anyone. I don't feel like doing that on this episode. So with that said, we'll take a quick break. We're going to preview the upcoming 3 games and look at the prospects. And, of course, fan interaction continues in segment numero 3. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2, prediction and prospects, P&P. But before we get into that, we're going to hear from DraftKings, our sponsor here on the Hockey Podcast Network. Bet the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook. So you get some cool lines. Calgary and Carolina. What a fun game that could be. Carolina is a minus 122. Calgary plus... What is going on? Sorry. Plus 102. Minnesota Wild versus the Canucks. The Schmucks. Gotta like that. But this is not going to be an easy one, even though the Wild are playing well. Canucks have the most goals in the Western Conference. Plus 105. Vancouver is a minus 129. This is the money line. So I need to be more clear with what the heck I'm talking about versus last time. But some of you probably know way more than I do necessarily. New Jersey and Seattle. New Jersey minus 148. Seattle 124. We get into that. Arizona minus 112. Philadelphia 108. Both of those teams playing significantly better and in the playoff picture. You got Torts in Philadelphia with some former Wild players and such. Nick Seeler's one of the best. He's on one of the best pairings in the NHL in terms of goals given up. So very impressive. Whereas the number 2 pairing in the NHL in terms of goals giving up, Brodin and Faber. So that's freaking awesome. Anaheim and Chicago, I don't know. That's kind of like a waste of time. They're almost even, actually. And Dallas and Washington, how the mighty have fallen with the Capitals. Dallas minus 134. Washington plus 114. Another one. Yeah, even Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is an underdog in Nashville. I guess. That's kind of hard to believe. 110 for Tampa, minus 130. I can't give betting advice, but interesting. But we all know how things can go change real quickly there. So on and so forth. Detroit, oh my God. Detroit's a minus 120, or a minus 298. San Jose plus 240. Good God. And is Buffalo this bad? But I guess. Boston minus 270. Buffalo 220. Pretty wild, pretty crazy. So anyhow, and it's a lot of fun to have the app, especially when you have all that in front of you. Download the app now and use code THPN. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 in hockey. That's code THPN, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. 467-369 is the numbers. Yep. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-889-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 160 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. NHL and the NHL Steel are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2023. All rights reserved. Okay, sorry, I had to say it. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, maybe I'm just looking at something interesting. So I hope I didn't mess something up last week. Not like in the ad, but the signature. I don't know. That's interesting. Anyhow. Yeah, hopefully not. The Vancouver Canucks. Yeah, well, they're favored against the Wild on the money line, that's for sure. 16-9-1 on the season, third in the Pacific, and the number 1 goal scoring team in the Western Conference. As for injuries, Zach Bogosian out for Tuesday's game. Yeah, he didn't play there, so we'll see if he plays versus the Canucks. So we'll see what happens. That's why you saw Merrill versus Calgary. Pius Suter, injured reserve as of November 15th. Carson Soucy, injured reserve, November 12th. Carson Soucy, damn. Guillaume Brebo, I think I'm saying it correctly, injured reserve, October 13th. That stinks. Thatcher Demko has had a great season, but he did give up a ton of goals in the most recent game, if I remember correctly. He's on my fantasy team by the grace of God. Again, number 1 goals in the NHL, actually, 104. Wilder 18th. That would be Vancouver's number one. Yep. Goals against Vancouver's 11th. The Wild are 19th. It's improving. Power play, Wild 20th. Vancouver 4th. Penalty kill, the Wild 31st. We're out of the bottom. And Vancouver 25th. So that's not too great. 3-game series. We haven't played each other yet. First game is today. And then Saturday, December 16th. Monday, February 19th. Vancouver's been kind of win-loss. They're 2-3 in their last 5. So they're in third place. They've not been so hot lately. And they did give up 6 goals 2 days ago versus the New Jersey Devils. Ouch. 6-5. They scored, but they gave up too many. 4-1 loss to Vegas, but it's Vegas. They lost to the Sharks. They lost to Glass Joe. Yeah, they did. The Wild have won 4 in a row. Did I say 5 earlier? It's 4. It feels like 5, and hopefully it gets to 5. But St. Louis, Nashville, Chicago, Calgary, 4-0 with John Hynes as head coach of Minnesota at the end of the day. Obviously, some attractive players of Vancouver, ones that we wouldn't have minded having in Minnesota. Demko has 2 shutouts. His save percentage is .917. His goals against average is 2.46. His win-loss record is 12-7. And Casey DeSmith, the former Pittsburgh Penguin, 3.06. And save percentage of .903. And, he's all right. He's a backup goalie. He is. He's in the proper role. JT Miller, obviously somebody we've always wanted and all that cute stuff. 39 points on the season. The Wild's leading scorer is Matt Zuccarello with 27. So put that into perspective as I rattle off these top 4 players. JT Miller with 39. 14 goals, 25 assists. Quinn Hughes, elite defenseman with power play superstardom and all that stuff. 14 power play assists, 27 total, 9 goals as well. 36 points. Again, who did I say had 27? Yeah, 20. Yeah, again, our leading scorer has 27 points. Elias Pettersson, somebody we'd love to have, right? 10 goals, 24 assists in 20. This is all in 26 games, 34 points. Brock Besser has returned from purgatory or wherever he was in. 18 goals, 12 assists, 30 total points. All 4 of them are ahead of the Minnesota Wild's top scorer, and it feels like Zuccarello just kind of gets assists by default, basically. Yeah, just give Zuccarello an assist. He was on the ice. He must have had something to do with it, and that's kind of what it's been like at the end of the day. Familiar names, Carson Sousa. Yep, only 13 games, 5 points. Ian Cole, 26 games, 3 assists. 26 games, 3 assists. And, of course, the off-the-ice stuff. But let's attempt to move on from that, I suppose. It's too bad. But, obviously, he was a nice defenseman. I liked him when he was here. I did. And he's a plus. Is he a plus? Yes, +3 on the season. He's played in every game and only 3 points, 3 assists. I think that's the end of the Minnesota ties. Obviously, Brock Besser is the biggest. Carson Sousa, former Minnesota Wild prospect and player. Pretty nice second-pairing defenseman, but on injured reserve, though, so it kind of sucks. It kind of does. I've said that 6 times now, sorry. Yeah, that's... and Connor Garland, I do believe he's related. No, he's not related. I'm getting him mixed up with Granlund. His brother used to be on Vancouver. Forget if he went to Calgary or what the heck, but I don't know. It's not important at the moment. He's not on the Wild. Mikhail Granlund's not been on the Wild for years now. A winnable game. Vancouver's not playing so hot lately. You want to hope that you can capitalize and all that. Obviously, Demko got shelled by a pretty good New Jersey team that's hopefully waking up for their stack. They've been a little bit of a disappointment this year, considering where they were last year. They look like they're ready to possibly go on a Stanley Cup run. Possibly, without being a super boring team, which would be the first time after 3 Stanley Cups. It'd be their first cup without being super boring. Sorry, Bill Guerin, but I don't know. I guess the 95 team was pretty fun to watch, and there were some classic players on that team. Little did we know this young Bill Guerin guy, who he was and who he'd become and all that, in so many different ways. But guys like Neil Broughton and such, that was cool. Where am I? What are the Wild going to do versus Vancouver? I say just, I don't know, to step out in faith and believe the Wild can get the job done. This one is in Vancouver. That's what I thought, 9 p.m. And then the next 2 are both at Xcel Energy Center in December and February. So that's important to know. The Wild will have home ice advantage overall in the series. Wild haven't done so hot in Vancouver over the years, but we've had some good games. It's kind of been back and forth. Mikhail Granlund did get a hat trick against this team many years ago, but why am I even bringing that up? It's just a fond memory, I suppose. Winnable game. Vancouver's not playing well. The Wild have been playing phenomenal. I guess, I'm going to pick a win. Why not? 4-3 Minnesota with the win. Most likely guy to score, Matt Boldy. Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh, and then Boston. So we're done with the West Coast and all that. We're done with the with Alberta or British Columbia or anything like that for the. Nope, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I went a week ahead. God, I was looking at these teams, and I do have them all ready to go. Sorry, I'm going crazy here. Back to back, so we go back to Alberta. So we're going to go from Vancouver to Edmonton, and then back to Seattle. Why not have Seattle after Vancouver and then play Edmonton on Sunday? Why not? I don't know. Schedule makers, I guess. They just want to torture people. Edmonton has been playing pretty well, and they're another team with games in hand and all that cute stuff. Dylan Holloway, former Calgary Flame, he's still in his Flames jersey there. Injured reserve as of November 14th, and Ryan Fanti. Injured reserve as of October 9th. That seems to be a thing. Injured reserve, injured reserve, injured reserve. Well, Connor McDavid's not an injured reserve. Zach Hyman had a hat trick in the most recent game where they beat the crap out of Carolina. That was just last night. Just beat the living tar out of them. Was it, 6-1 or something? Rogers Place, 8 p.m. Gotta like these late games. I do. A lot of you don't, but I do. Damn it. It's all about me. No, it's not. It's about you too. It's about all of us. 13th in goals is Edmonton. 19th in goals against. They're kind of, still kind of mediocre, but people are saying they're a cup contender. Well, they looked like it yesterday, and Carolina looks like dog dookie. It looks like a dumb pick on my part. Dog dookie. 18th in penalty kill, so on and so forth. This is the second game of the series. The Wild beat the crap out of them, basically, but still gave up 4 goals. 7-4. That's a classic Edmonton kind of game, right? It kind of is. 7-4 win for Minnesota on Tuesday, October the 24th in Xcel Energy Center when the Wild were a mess. That was one of our 5 wins at the time. We've won 4. Yeah, we've won 4. It's just in just the last week or so here. It's pretty crazy. So, yes, it's this one, Friday, December the 8th. So, yes, it's a back-to-back situation. We'll see 2 different goalies. What do you expect tonight versus Vancouver? Probably, I'm guessing Gus versus Vancouver and Fleury versus Edmonton, but maybe it'll be switched. I don't know. But I'm guessing Gus versus Vancouver. I mean, either way, you're going up against a firing squad. Super duper offense, so it's not going to be an easy couple of games here. I think the Wild dropped one of these 2, unfortunately. I think the Wild dropped the one to Edmonton. Dag nabbit. I think it's going to be like I think the Wild lose their first game under John Hynes. I mean, we're not going to be undefeated. We're not going to sweep everybody and win the Stanley Cup. It's not. I mean, we might win the Cup, but I doubt it. Sorry, I don't know. It's okay to doubt it. I'm not a bad fan. The next game is Friday, February the 23rd, also in Rogers Place. It's more like Gretzky's place back in the day, or Messier's, or whoever the heck else. I have fond memories of the 80s Oilers. Sorry, I just do. And the North Stars, of course. But point being, I think Edmonton wins the game, unfortunately. Let's look at the actual players very briefly here, now that I've babbled my head off, because I can't help myself. I'm out of control. Stuart Skinner, it's going to be a high-scoring game. I mean, Edmonton's kind of what they are. They score goals, they give up goals. Stuart Skinner, 3.03 goals a game, 88.9 save percentage, and 1 shutout. Otherwise, you still got Jack Campbell and Calvin Pickard. And I believe he's actually there right now. Campbell must be out or something, well, yeah, he must have been sent down. 4.5. Bloody hell, that's awful. Calvin Pickard, 2.94. None of the goalies are even stopping 90% of the shots. It's pathetic. Connor McDavid, 8 goals, 24 assists, 32 points. Jeez, you're getting beat by all those Vancouver guys, aren't you? Leon Draisaitl, but of course McDavid's missed a few games too. Draisaitl has played in every game, 10 goals, 19 assists. Zach Hyman with the hat trick leads the Edmonton Oilers in goals, 15-11 for 26. Evander Kane has had his wrist reattached, 20 points for him, 11 goals and 9 assists. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has 14 assists to go with 5 goals as well. So on and so forth. Mattias Ekholm, I've always been a fan. He's he's kind of chipping away 10 points in 22 games. I like Matthias Ekholm of the formerly of the Nashville Predators. Kind of like him. At least he's not hurt, But I think the Oilers win the game. Unfortunately, it'll be a 4-3, 4-2, 4-3 type of game. Might go to OT. Maybe the Wild get a point out of it. But I think the Oilers beat the Wild, unfortunately. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Wild just keep winning, or we get beat by Vancouver tonight, and then beat Edmonton tomorrow. But I think the Oilers beat the Wild. That's kind of the crystal ball I have at the moment when it comes to the the two teams coming up. I'm having dyslexia again. Seattle, massive disappointment so far, but so were the Wild until lately. 8-12-6, 6 overtime losses. What the heck is that crap? 5th place in the Pacific Division. Jaden Schwartz, the former St. Louis Stanley Cup champion Blue, injured reserve. Why don't I just say injured? That's all it is. Injured reserve. That's all it is. If somebody's out, it's injured reserve. It's not their pinky finger has bruised. It's injured reserve. Okay, I know it's probably a lot worse than that. Even though it would, pinky fingers would surprise you how important they are. Actually, yeah. Anyhow, Jaden Schwartz injured reserve November 28th, and Andrei Burakovsky October 21st. Philip Grubauer is giving up 3.35 goals against. His save percentage is 8.83 and no shutouts on the year. Goals for 26th in the league for Seattle, 28th in goals against. They are not too good. Power play is 14th, penalty kill 24th. First of the 3-game series, Sunday, December the 10th in Seattle. We'll be back in Seattle on Feb 24, and finally at Xcel Energy Center at the end of the season, April 18th. Maybe it's one of those games where one team makes the playoffs and one doesn't. Who knows? But Seattle's sucking lately. They've lost all 5 of their last. And, gosh, they're not scoring goals, and they're giving up a lot. 5-1 to Vancouver, to name one. Awful. Shut out by Ottawa. 2-1, 2-0. You didn't lose to Glass Joe, but you lost to Von Kaiser there. You lost to the second guy, Von Kaiser, in Super Mario Punch-Out. No, in Punch-Out, not Super Mario. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Super Mario Punch-Out. Joey Decord is, he's got the best goals against average for the, it's kind of been a split because Grubauer has been a huge wash for the freaking Seattle Kraken. When it's like, my God, they got Philip Grubauer. He's one of the best goalies in the league. Well, he hasn't been since he got to Vancouver. Their leading scorer is a defenseman, and all the respect in the world to former St. Louis Blue. Everybody's a St. Louis Blue on this team. They are. Not all of them, but there's a lot of them. 21 points for Vince Dunn. He's really emerging, isn't he? 4 goals, 17 assists, 7 power play assists, and 2 power play goals. He's been good. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln? Anyone? How was the play? Yeah, it's disappointing. Jordan Eberle only 12 points in 23 games. Adam Larson, the former Oiler. Big trade for the Oilers years ago. They get this great defenseman who's not great at all. It's just average. 7 points, 26 games. Mediocre defensively and below average offensively. I don't know, man. It's, I don't know. Jared McCann. I think he played for the, he's the leading goal scorer. I'm pretty sure he played for the Vegas Golden Knights. Didn't he? He did not. I got him mixed up with someone else. Pittsburgh, okay. Pittsburgh in Florida. Yep, I got him mixed up with someone else. It doesn't matter, but he's the leading goal scorer for Seattle. No excuse. The Wild win this game comfortably. 5-2. Wild beat Seattle just like Calgary. Comfortable win. Most likely guy to score versus Edmonton. I got to backtrack. Should it be 34-year-old Jared Spurgeon had just had his birthday scoring in his hometown? I always like to go with that. I don't know what it is. I'm obsessed with it. But Seattle, so I will go with that. Brock Faber is going to score a goal versus the Seattle Kraken in a 5-2 win. But he'll find a way to score a goal versus the Seattle Kraken. One of those 5 goals will be Brock Faber. Wild go 2-1 or maybe 2-0-1 this upcoming week. It could go to a shootout or OT, but I think Edmonton beats the Wild, or maybe it's Vancouver. But I'm going to say Edmonton, gun to my head type of deal. I should have picked Rossi to score against somebody. I'm going to pick him instead of Spurgeon for Edmonton, so I'm making that brief change. With that, we're going to look at the prospects now. And let's get started with the Iowa Wild, if humanly possible. Ryan O'Rourke. Well, he's not been the highlight this past week. If it comes to prospects in Iowa, this past week, it's got to be Damon Hunt. I mean, he's only played 11 games, and his time in the NHL, I think, really boosted his confidence. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, I was able to keep up in the NHL to a point. Now this feels a little easier. 21-year-old Damon Hunt with now 7 assists, 8 total points in only 11 games. He's had some multi-point games here. Damon Hunt is he's the leading scoring defenseman for the Iowa Wild. Iowa continues to be, well, they've been playing better, and they have the best goalie pretty much you could ever imagine in the AHL. He's going to be an all-star goalie in the NHL if all goes well, and he probably will. 9-4, Jesper Wallstedt, 1.95 goals against average, save percentage just under 94. Wow. So the Iowa Wild have something going for them when it comes to, possibly winning some games. It has mostly been the older veteran kind of guys, but at least Damon Hunt has been a huge thing, and Sammy Walker has been picking up. But at the end of the day, still because of the shitty start there, I'll say it, because of the shitty slow start. I don't like to swear too much on these shows. I just don't. I don't want to turn it into like, that's one thing I don't like to do very much. I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. Sammy Walker, now that I'm off my soapbox, 50% or half a goal or half a point a game basically pace after a bleepy start to the season. And Adam Beckman back to he was at 2/3 of a point. Now he's closer to half. So now it's, damn it. He did get I think he had a goal the other night, but it's just, I don't know. It's been quiet. Though, so it's like, but it's mostly been Patan, Lucchini, and Kyra leading the Iowa Wild. And Simon Johansson also with another goal. He's actually been a nice little positive as well. 4 goals now on the season. 5 points, 20 games. It's nothing to say, holy cow, oh my God, we got to have him. But at least he's been okay. I don't know. I'm sorry, somebody's distracted me here, and I apologize. It hasn't been an amazing season for a lot of the prospects down there, but at least we're seeing really good signs coming out of Damon Hunt, though. He's definitely been a huge positive, other than, of course, the goaltender, who's better than him right now, Jesper Wallstedt. The Iowa Wild did win 6-1 most recently against the Ice Hogs, the Rockford Ice Hogs. So that's obviously freaking awesome. Sorry about this. Yeah, it's usually like Patan, Lucchini, guys like that, multi-point games. Like Patan is always kind of one of those guys. Kyra, 2 assists. Yeah, Johansson did get his 4th goal. Mike O'Leary's been a factor. Yeah, Walker, that's right. He got a goal just recently there. So he's kind of starting to pick it up. Jesper Wallstedt stopping 30 of 31 shots. That's obviously been great. But, yeah, still, generally speaking, some of those guys, they still got to catch up to those older veterans. We appreciate them, and usually the older veterans, they're trying to make it, and they're experienced, and, they should be kicking butt in the AHL, honestly. But at the same time, it'd be nice to see the prospects kicking some butt as well. So, finally we're seeing something out of Hunt again, as he did see a few games in the NHL, so that's why he only has 11 AHL games so far. He has been healthy, and stay healthy, please, if that's okay. Lambo's at 6 points now. He also added his 5th assist this past week. So, 5th assist. He's tied with Ryan O'Rourke now with 6 points. Carson Lambo's chipping away and moving up a little bit. Gradually. It's his first year in the AHL, so no huge rush there. Merit Huznadinov, the stupid thing. Yeah, I know. I got to play around with this for a minute. So, that's kind of a pain in the butt. At 11 points in 23 games so far in Sochi. Obviously, he's been better in Sochi than he was in St. Petersburg. Obviously, just six games and nothing because they weren't playing him. They were having him rot on the 4th line. So, my apologies for maybe not passing on enough information about the situation with Huznadinov. Obviously, a slow start, but there was a reason for it. So, I have to talk about that. Liam Ugrin, very happy to see his progress and all that. Glad to see that he's not, that he's finally back from injury and such, with now 3 games and still that 1 goal. So there's that. He looks like he's going to be in the World Junior Classic. He's under 20, so good for him. That's coming up very soon as we head into the Christmas here. Obviously, Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas season and all of that. Danila Yurov who could be here as soon as next year as well. That's always a really exciting type of thought. Sorry, singing. Obviously Russian and all that good stuff, and he's been super productive in the KHL. Yeah, awesome, just absolutely awesome. In 35 games, 12 goals, 15 assists. This is the KHL, folks. This is not the MHL. For last year, he was over a point a game, but that's the AHL of Russia. 27 points, 12 goals, 15 assists. Just kind of outstanding. And becoming like a goal scorer for sure. And he's gonna be a nice player for Minnesota. Looks like one of those great draft picks. And he's only 19 years of age, folks. He ain't 22, 23, 24, or anything like that. So not even 20 years of age. He could also be in the World Junior, but we'll see how that goes. Whereas Ogren will be. So that's not even a question. Hunter has been hunted, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, 6 ECHL games for the Iowa Heartlanders. Oh, God. 4.6 goals against average. I feel for you, man. I really do. I feel for Hunter. I don't know what to say. Spacek, by the way, he's been kind of back and forth at ECHL. He's back with Iowa. 1 goal, 2 assists in 10 games, so that's 3 points for Spacek. Obviously, yeah. So, good for him. Apologize, I'm bouncing here. So, yeah, because I have to kind of move around, maneuver. Talked about O'Rourke, Pavel Novak. Didn't really get into him too much. And first off, watch. We'll watch on first off. Nope. We're going to have to go to a different thing. God. Yeah, it's always fun navigating through some of this mess here. Vladislav, first off, of course, in the KHL. Second round pick for Minnesota in 2019. 22 years of age and 21 points, 11 goals, 10 assists. Yep. And, 19-year-old Yurov. It just says a lot about Yurov. Not so much complaining about first off as much as how good Yurov has been. First off, 21 points in 39 games for Torpedo. I'm not even going to try the next two. Novgorod, I guess. Novgorod. That sounds awesome, actually. Novgorod. Sorry. That really does sound good at the end of the day. Other prospects, as you bounce around and all that, you get college players and such. I'm kind of blanking here. Hunter Haight, yep. When you look at college and juniors, Hunter Haight, 31 points in 25 games. And, I mean, we're having the multi-prospect of the week. We're going to get to him in a second, but he's not at the moment. Yep, regular Lorenz, 6 goals, 5 assists, 11 total points for the University of Denver as a sophomore. So good for him. University of Denver Pioneers, of course. Milne injured, and that sucks. Ryan Healy with Harvard. 6 points in 9 games, 2 goals, 4 assists. And, yep, obviously missed time at the start of the season, as we talked about before. Jack Pert, again, defensive-minded guy, only 3 points in 14 games, but again, very strong defensive-minded guy for one of the better teams in college hockey. In fact, weren't they ranked number 1 recently? So, I believe so. 14 games. He's even. I would say he's been a little bit of a disappointment, honestly. So, I mean, last year, it's like, yeah, he's defensive-minded, but he was more productive. And he's only even. So that kind of sucks. So, I don't know. It's disappointing. And obviously, when you're not scoring, it's not going to help your plus-minus either. So, Charlie, I never scored. Charlie, I never scored Stramel. 10 games, 1 goal. 10 games, 1 goal. But we'll see. We'll see. It's just as it's not his freshman year. It's his sophomore year. Kumpalainen, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, and it's one of the cooler names out there. He's a point-a-game guy for the OHL, Ottawa Generals. 25 points in 25 games, 13 of them goals. So hopefully he's a goal scorer. And then the prospect of the year, basically. It's over. He's the prospect of the year. He is. Riley Height, yes. Saskatchewan. For Bigfoot himself, no, I'm kidding. 5'11", 182, not quite Bigfoot level. 18 years of age. He's unbelievable. He is unbelievable. 14 goals, 39 assists. Oh, I mean, what more can you say? Didn't he have like 11 assists last week or something? That's why with MNW Prospects, Pavel Bennett put 2 fires next to his name. You know how you put fire, like this guy's hot? Riley Height is blue hot. There's red hot, orange hot, yellow hot, white hot, and then there's blue hot. Riley Heidt is blue hot right now. It's the WHL, but he is he's looking like some of those prospects in the past where it's like, oh my, this guy's going to be a really good player. I really hope this translates to the next level and the level beyond, obviously AHL and NHL. If he's anything like he's playing like in WHL, I mean anything, he's not going to play a game in the AHL, but I'm sure he will because, 64th overall pick in 2023 looks like a fantastic draft pick for Judd Bracken and, of course, Bill Guerin, who was has the last say, president of hockey operations. Aaron Punk, of course, that is the University of Minnesota Duluth and Hermantown and all that good stuff. 20 years of age. He's not like an 18-year-old freshman. He's a 20-year-old already. 1 goal, 8 assists for 9 total points, and he is a defenseman, a left-shot defenseman, which we probably could use pretty soon here in 15 games. Kalen Palka, not from Minnesota. There's a lot of Minnesotans in this past draft. One of them disappointing so far. Yeah, I know, the Wisconsin guy. Galen Parker, defense, shoots right for the Moose Jaw Warriors, 14 points in 24 games, 13 assists. Good for him there. And then Jimmy Clark, the Gophers, 7th round pick. Definitely not as productive of late, 16 games, but still productive enough, I guess, for a freshman. 7th round pick in the draft out of Edina. Oh, yeah, I know, Edina. 16 games, 4 goals, 3 assists. About a +5 on the year, so that's good, and hopefully the future national champions. As it's time for the Gopher hockey team to finally win a frickin' national title. Again, it's been too long. I don't want to wait anymore. So that's how I look at that. That'll wrap up the prospects. Riley Heidt, the prospect of the week, the prospect of the year. Stay healthy, Riley. That's all I got to say about that. Stay healthy. And can't wait. Can't wait to see you at the next level. That's all I got to say about that. I wish it was right now, man. With that, we'll take a quick break, and it's time for some fan interaction. Yes. And we are back here on Brave the Wild. Final segment, fan interaction. Hashtag BTWMN. Hashtag BTWMN. We're opening up with a couple of polls here. One from me and one from Crease Assist. Somehow mine got more votes this time. That's rare. Because I know Crease Assist is very popular. Yeah, they're doing a great... Yeah, I mean, Derek is doing a great job, of course. Kalisha Towns and... Teresa Ferry's awesome show, especially, I mean, the most recent one was so fun. And, we're going to hashtag each other from now on, which obviously, Derek's been doing it and I hadn't been, so I feel like a jerk. I'll have a good one next week, that Ryan Hartman versus Connor DeWert conversation. Now we'll finally get to the point here at Crease and Assist. What is the biggest single change to the Minnesota Wild since the arrival of John Hynes as head coach? Team is playing faster, more assertive offense, more responsible defense, better goaltending, and I did say team playing faster, and that is winning with 2 days left. 50.9%. 50.9. Second place is more responsible defense, 20.8. Third place, better goaltending. Fourth place, 11.3. More assertive offense. I almost picked that one, too. Okay, well, this one, mine also has a couple of days left, but it's had enough. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know how you declare a winner? Because it's going to happen. You're going to declare a winner, kind of like in Alaska, you declare winners usually pretty early, and in Washington, D.C., you declare winners pretty early in the presidential elections, you know what I mean? Because they lean really far one way or the other, those two states, if you can call Washington, D.C. a state. It kind of is, yeah. Well, it counts as like for what you call it, electoral votes anyway. I would say, okay, here's the poll I promised 2 episodes ago. Where do we stand today in the LA Kings Kevin Fiala trade? Brock Faber and Liam Olgren, or Kevin Fiala? Brock Faber and Liam Olgren are declared the winner, 82.9. Even with 2 days left, they're declared the winner. Kevin Fiala, 17.1. He did get votes. It's a blowout, as they say in the hockey world. Mike at Snowrider24 _7, all that. By Fiala. Matt responds with, Kings have a couple of these guys. Kevin and PLD are both are both guys that are so talented, but aren't necessarily first line guys. Guess that's a good thing. Oh, it is. Andrew Woodard, yep, welcome back to the show. He says, I don't think there is a wrong answer to this one yet. I understand. Would you, Wild could absolutely use a Kevin Fiala. Yes. The Blue Line would also be significantly worse without Brock Faber now and in the future. And then the good news is we still have Liam Holmgren in the wings. So yeah, let's keep going. There was a little conversation after that. I don't need to get to everything because those two guys are having their own convo there, which is the way we roll. Thoughts on this hot streak and anything else, please hashtag it BTWMN. The Derek Felska lightning round hath returned da. Yes, sir, at Crease Assist, at Crease and Assist, sorry, and it's the Crease Assist podcast. Do check it out, of course, that I mentioned. I think these games continue to prove how tuned out they were for Dean Evason. Almost everyone is hustling. Gustafsson is making clutch saves. Team is jumping out to an early lead. Yeah, they are. And not chasing the game. More shots are being blocked. It has been generally good. Yeah, part 1. So it looks like there's a part. Where is it? Why does it do that? Where's part 2? Where's part 2? Okay, is it this one? Okay, yeah, that is part 2. I can't imagine Deed would have wanted them to play any differently than they currently are, but Boldy looks way more confident and involved. The honeymoon is still going, but isn't going to last forever. Correct. Yep, nope, I agree with that. It's definitely not going to last forever, but certainly encouraging signs, thus so on and so forth. And yes, hockey does have sugar highs, unfortunately, but when you get a coaching change, but hopefully this one ends up being something special. Obviously, the St. Louis one was the greatest sugar high you could ever imagine because it took them to a Stanley Cup title. Looks like that. Yep. So Jay Bushy will jump in quick. So there's a break in the action when it comes to the lightning round, which is funny. I'm just messing around. Jay Bushy, great to hear from you, says, as Crease and Assist asks, how long is this surge sustainable? Yep. Yeah. How long? Well, it could go on for the rest of the year in terms of this could be an overall more productive year. Clearly, they were tuning out Dean and it wasn't going to come back. It wasn't going to come back probably. Dean disagrees, but I don't know. Of course, as a competitor, if I was the coach of the Wild and I was the guy, I would feel that way too. But unfortunately, the reality appears to be heading in a different direction there. As for how long the surge is sustainable, I think the team can play well the rest of the year, but the absolute current, I think the win streak ends this week, but the overall surge could probably go on into January. It can, and kind of hopefully get the Wild into playoff contention, since clearly we're not rebuilding and we're not reloading, and how can we reload anyway with the cap situation? So yeah, I would say about January-ish. The lightning round has returned to many of the, that's Derek Felska, of course, many of the Minnesota Wild forwards have shown more jump, assertiveness, and they are, knock on wood, as he says, finding the back of the net with greater frequency, with one exception, Marcus Johansson. Is there anything that can be done to get him back on track? You know what it could be? Make him a free agent at the end of the year. You know what I mean? It's a contract year. Oh, we got to put. It's a contract year. It's like, here we go again. Hockey player. Every athlete, not hockey players. Hockey players usually try harder no matter what. But in professional sports, the number one motivation to any professional athlete, it's a contract year. It's a contract year. Unless you're Latrell Sprewell and you're a complete moron, and say that I got a family to feed and I'm going to turn down this contract for more because I'm a jackass. That was one of the few exceptions. That's what it's appearing to be, though. It was a contract year and he played better because of that. Look how good Terrell Brandon played in 1999, but then he got that the big contract with the Timberwolves. Oh, sure, he played fine, but he wasn't as good as he was in '99. And welcome to sports, unfortunately. And I'm not saying that to Derek. Welcome to sports. I'm just saying that's kind of how it is. Damn it, and it sucks. That's probably what it's going to take, is unfortunately, Johansson, I don't think, he's disappeared before, which is really annoying. And I don't know. He might have been a free agent that year too, though. A couple of years ago when we acquired him. I forget what happened there. Yeah, I think he was. So what am I talking about? I'm not sure what to say, but I'm really not sure. He's the one guy that really hasn't responded to anything. Now that I come back to it, here's the other guy who needs some help too. Prospect Charlie Strumell didn't even get an invite to play for the U.S. World Juniors team. Should we be concerned, or is making/not making the team overrated in your opinion? I'm concerned. I'm concerned because, he should be doing something, right? You have Mike Hastings as head coach. Wisconsin's completely different this year. I'm concerned, yeah. How there's, say, DEFCON level, whatever, like 10, or like 10 is the, say, your worry, your stress, your concern level. If 10 is the highest, 1's the lowest. With Stremmel, I'm probably at a 6 or 7. I'm not at 10 yet, but yeah, if he's still doing this next year, we'll be going to be at 8 or 9 already. Looks like there's a couple of replies. And then Johan says, the kid has been hurt and is barely back playing. One of two things, too much competition among young players for this team and not enough playing time for Charlie. Or he said, I'm not ready and need to focus on school and play. Huh. Interesting. And that's interesting that if he said that. Derek Felska says, me and Derek know what interesting means. Maybe, and while he has the better part of 3 years to figure it out, I don't think expectations were all that high to begin with. Yeah. And that's why maybe my concerns might be like 5 or 6-ish. Tony Perkle says, good to hear from you, Tony. And, of course, Eman Johan, of course. Absolutely. Lots of draft nicks thought the Wild reached for Strammel, but to trust Judd to get centers. Watched part of a Badger game, and he was barely mentioned. Not giving up hope that he pans out, but this season has not been encouraging. Yeah, that's about right. That's about where I stand. Not giving up hope, but I'm not real encouraged. So, yeah. Look at me bouncing off everyone's coattails, but, it's hard to disagree with that. Derek Felska says, have you seen the new documentary on NHL 94? I have not. If so, what are your thoughts on it? If not, what is your best NHL 94 memory? Winning championships, yeah. But no, also being able to still have teams like Quebec Nordiques, Hartford Whalers, and some legendary players on there that, a lot of old North Stars are there, including ones that I wish were still North Stars when they left or when they went to the final, like Larry Murphy. I traded him back to the Dallas Stars / Minnesota North Stars and had fun with that. It's having a lot of those players. It's having a lot of those players still around. You could reassemble the Edmonton Oilers, who would have still been really good at the time, by the way. Do you realize how good that team would have been for as long as they would have been if they didn't split them all up and such? And, Messier ultimately going to the Rangers and Gretzky to the Kings and other teams after that. St. Louis and New York. St. Louis and New York. Anyhow, it was fun with the Rangers for a minute, though, I guess, Gretzky and Messier. But that's kind of my main memory is all the legendary players, But you can also have fun with future Wild executives, future Wild players when they were real young, like Wes Walz. He's actually pretty good in that game. He's at like he's like at the bottom of Calgary's lineup practically, and he's a Calgary native, by the way. But that being him being Wes Walz, but he's a good player on that game, and I brought him to my. Actually, I forget if when I played as Calgary, I kept him there, but on other teams, other teams that I assembled, like Hartford and such, like Phil Housley, and he's like spectacular in that game. So that's what I like the most, are just all the wonderful players you can assemble, and of course you could have the Hartford Whalers again, Quebec Nordiques. It's so cool. So I wish they were still the North Stars as well. Next, the Arizona Coyotes claim they are about to purchase some land in Phoenix to stay in Arizona. Is that the right move? Or should the league just cut bait and finally relocate this club to a market that gives a damn about hockey? Something about, I don't know, I like Arizona, but at the same time, I think other markets would, I think other markets that want hockey should have hockey. Yeah, that's so. I'm kind of feeling the latter there. Yeah, it's sad because I like Arizona. I like the thought of them having hockey. I like their uniforms, how they went back to the retros. I think they're awesome. And it was kind of cool when they first moved there, and I always used to joke about Phoenix having hockey. It'd be weird. It'd be funny, and then it happened, of course. I don't know. I like Houston does not excite me. A lot of people it does. They are Texas, it's like kind of similar. I mean, they probably have a better market for it, but come on, Texas, two teams in Texas. We're gonna have a Texas two-step in the NHL also, like NBA and such. NBA, sure. Baseball, okay. Hockey, football, like no bleep. I don't know. Like I mean, Salt Lake City, maybe. Quebec City, please, por favor. Hartford, Connecticut, that'd be awesome, but I don't know. So on and so forth. Next, so yes, basically relocate. Yes, I'm saying relocate. It hurts a little bit, but I think it'd be better. Derek felt because it's just an ongoing saga and it needs to end. How should fans remember Dean Evison? Gritty. A gritty guy who every time the Wild scored goals, he'd be punching people in the stomach and chest and stuff. A man who was very passionate about the game, stubborn, unfortunately. So stubborn with lineups, like this is how we do things, that kind of thing. That's probably his. I think that was probably his ultimate undoing, was stubborn about this is how we do things, that kind of thing, and the Goudreau nonsense. But at the same time, a man who was passionate about the game, a man who has a lot of respect for everybody, basically. A very respectful, a classy guy. Unfortunately, a little on the stubborn side as a coach. So that's where I'm leaning in that. Steve Snyder will wrap up the Fan Interaction segment. People continue to talk about our prospect pool other than the goalie. That would be Jesper Wallstedt, of course. Yep. Do we really have a strong pool of prospects? Not seeing much in Iowa to this point. Agreed. I'm not seeing much in Iowa either. But there's finally a little glimmer of hope because Damon Hunt has been emerging in a big way. Otherwise, Beckman, guys like that, they're not doing much. What's his name? The Duluth player, Swayze. What the heck? The former Duluth Bulldog. 25 years old? Ugh, and it's like he's taking steps back, so it's extremely depressing. Really good point there. Derek says right now beyond Wallstedt and the defense prospects like Hunt and O'Rourke, and Lambos, those guys are interesting. There isn't much there, especially at forward, where you really have just two in Beckman and Novak. Benkir and Milne are hurt. Yep, still hurt. But Damon Hunt has looked real good this season. Yep, he's the intriguing one. Steve Snyder. Oh, looks like there's a few here. Steve Snyder says, would be nice to see Hunt with the big club. Yeah, 4-33 are liabilities. Yep. Merrill and Goligoski, of course, liabilities on the blue line. Yep. Merrill just stinks, and Goligoski is long in the tooth and cannot keep up with the speed of the game anymore. Great career, but time to hang him up. Agreed? Agreed. Yep. Agreed on both of those guys. 4-33. And Ben Johan, remember when, as fans, we were complaining they always brought prospects right into the big league? Yeah, with Fletcher. Well, that didn't work with the prospects at the time. So now we are able to bake in Iowa, and fans are complaining. Truth is, some prospects, many are not able to get to the next level. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that's pretty much what we're complaining about. We're not complaining that guys are in Iowa, really. It's more like we're complaining that they're not doing much in Iowa. No, I can understand, maybe you're saying, people are complaining that Hunt isn't at the NHL. No, I'm fine. I'm fine that he's in the AHL for now. I'm fine that he's in the AHL for now. It's just that it sucks that the last two defensemen, the third pairing is awful. That's all. Derek responds with, yes, however, not everyone has to start in the minors just to say they did. Look at Faber. Yeah, exactly. He didn't need it. I'm not in a rush to see Damon Hunt or others, but I'd rather give them the ice time than the vets just holding on to the NHL career at the Metamucil crowd. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, that's perfect. Honestly, I think that's a perfect take. Yeah. No major rush for Hunt, but it's just that the last two guys are freaking horrible. That's all. So, no, great thoughts, though, either way. Great conversation. Emin Johan, Steve Snyder, Derek Felska there. And that will wrap up Fan Interaction. Shout-outs very quickly to MNW Prospects, of course. Pavel Bennett, Justin Bakke. You guys are the coolest ever. I love you. Love what you do for MNW Prospects, MNW Young Guns. Minnesota Wild Global, of course. Scott Cavendish, I believe him and his wife had an anniversary. So awesome. Congratulations there. Happy anniversary. Congratulations for sure. Patrick Turner coming out of Florida. Minnesota Wild Nation. Major shout out there. Grease Assist. Lockdown Wild with Seth Tupol. Great job. Absolutely. Of course, Justin Bach is also part of Sound the Foghorn podcast. Yep. That's an awesome job. So, yeah, Justin Bach is an awesome guy. So, just in case he's still listening, hopefully. Those of you that listen, though, really appreciate you. And God bless you. Tell your friends about the show. Put a positive rating if you could. This show could use a few algorithms, even though the Twitter/X is doing pretty well. But, we could use some algorithms on iTunes, Spotify, things like that. Some positive ratings, 5-star ratings. As seems like my shows have vanished off the face of the earth when it comes to algorithms over the years. So those of you that have, though, thank you and thank you again. Anyone else that can, please do. Until next time, have a great week, and we'll see how the Wild do, and keep it up, Damon Hunt and others.